Good evening, everybody. Last time I spoke to you, it was in the afternoon, or the last time I recorded a video was in the afternoon. And I was just telling you about my day and what I was feeling, and just also I was telling you about my Friday and my Thursday evening. And right now it is Friday evening. It feels like a Saturday because my Saturdays are usually chilled. But today I really needed to have a chilled day. And I came on here to say, to balance out what I said earlier on, I spoke about taking it easy, I spoke about resting, but I have a suspicion that I needed to let all of that out, speak, and also relax, because after I recorded that video, I just I lied down and watched my friend's YouTube channel. And everything that I said I was gonna do, I said I was gonna wash my hair, I said I was gonna go to the store. I did go to the store eventually at like 7 o'clock before they closed. Yeah, but man, I feel like God is saying something to me. Like, have you ever heard a ringing sound? Like something that's just making you feel alert. There's that sound that calms you down, and then there's that sound that just activates you in your spirit. There's that sound that activates your soul, your body, that just makes you feel like, man, no. And guys, I don't even know where to start. Hey, like, I don't even know where to start, but I'll start now and I'll go backwards. So now, as in like the moment I decided to switch on my ring light and start recording, right? I just had my first proper meal for the day. In the afternoon, I just had yogurt, and it is about 8 o'clock right now. It's 20 to 9, and I had breakfast for supper, because I was asleep during breakfast time, and during lunchtime I was gathering myself for the day. And basically, as I'm sitting here, I'm watching rewatching a message by Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts. It's just one of those things that just came to my mind. I didn't know why. I can't remember the thought that led me to watch that particular sermon. I've seen it before. But I just was like, I need something to minister to what I'm feeling in the moment. And while I was watching this sermon, I remembered what I was sharing with my Connect group on yesterday. I was basically telling them about the season that I'm in, and I was saying to them that how do I explain it in a concise way? But I was saying to them that the way I understand the season that I'm in right now, the way that it seems, right? It seems like I'm in a season of waiting for God, right? Waiting for finances, right? To fund everything that I'm doing, One of the reasons why my YouTube channel is one of the places where I create the most content is because I have a ring light and I have a phone with a good enough camera, and I'm like using what I can, right? I would like to have my podcast. I would like to be doing all these other things that I want to be doing. Instagram, it's just shyness, really. But every other thing, it's like I'm like, okay, but I need this for that to happen, right? Which is arguable. So that is how I see the season that I'm in right now. But in the same breath, I said that, but I also feel like, what can I be doing right now? And I said that that's a part of my nature. I've always been the type of person who, I believe I'm a hard worker. Some people believe I'm a hard worker. other people not so much. And it's crazy how, like I've said before, that sometimes the voices around us can combat our very selves, our very nature. And, I've had family members who don't know me as intimately as like a day to day say to me, "Now you're a very hard worker." And when I hear them say that, I'm like, but not really, not as much as I want to, right? And then on the flip side, I had a friend in varsity who laughed at the thought of me being diligent. And I might have mentioned this before, but it just goes to show how some of these things really, guys, like, I am not over them yet. I'm really not. And if it means I'm going to keep regurgitating the same thing, guys, I won't lie to you. There's certain things that really have made an imprint on my life, and I am working on it not to be that way. I know that it's up to me for me not to let those words control how I think about myself. But I remember just that person laughing at, "Ha, you diligent." That hurt, and that stayed with me for a while. And I've had this wrestle just with me working on solidifying my identity and being the person who I know I am deep inside, right? Just as I was praying and asking God, okay, Lord, help me be consistent, help me be a finisher, help me be diligent. And half the time when I pray those prayers, I feel an impression on my heart saying that, but you are those things. I even wrote some of them down, and then I don't know, sometime later in frustration or whatever I was feeling at the time, like I wrote them down, put them on my cupboard. As you may have seen, my cupboard has a whole lot of things stuck on it, and then ripped it off. And it's just like, I don't know what I was thinking in the time when I ripped it off, but it's just like, guys, like, oof, man, I don't even know how to explain the feeling, but this tug and pull, this tug of war thing of trying to be this person, but also realizing you are this person, and then walking in it, and then giving up, and then feeling helpless, and then feeling powerful. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. So, I said it's in my nature for me to want to take responsibility, to want to move forward. And actually, this is something that I was trying to say in my previous video, that I miss the old me. It's because I miss that drive, that vuma, that thing, that beast thing, right? And it's qualifiable, because, if that's even a word, because there is that let's say toxic motivation, right? There is that culture saying push, and I think what I'm trying to find in this moment is the balance between that and really being who I truly am, and not suppressing that, right? So I spoke about rest earlier on, but after speaking about that rest, sorry, please excuse me, guys. Sometimes I talk like this. Sometimes I start here and then I stop, and then let me finish a thought. Let me finish the thought of what I was explaining with regards to being in the Connect group, right? And me saying I feel like it's in my nature to want to push, to want to be like, okay, God, I'm waiting for you, but what is it that I can do? And I remember saying this to a group of people who don't know me really, and getting nods. And it's like, wow, it's like these people are affirming who I am. And it reminded me of those moments where I would say these things, and I would say, oh, I feel like I'm not doing enough. And I would say that to certain people, and it would almost be like, but you're doing a lot, like you're doing the most. And it's like I said in one of my previous videos, nobody knows what's in you. Nobody knows what's in you. Nobody can see the day-to-day. Nobody can see you waking up at 12 o'clock, 3 days in a row, 3 weeks in a row, 3 months in a row, and you saying something is wrong. And that person is like, but you've been a grinder all your life, just relax. If that's, if that's what you need in that season, just relax. And sometimes I get the heart of that. Rest is important. Like I said, rest is important. And we have to be careful not to grind ourselves to a pulp just because that's what culture expects. But I had to realize, and this is what I was realizing after I recorded that video, that but what is in here? Do I need rest? What is the cause of my frustration? Is my frustration that I'm feeling resistance because I'm trying to do something that I know to do, right? Because that's how I feel right now. That's how I feel in this moment. After I wanted to say decompressing, but I don't think that's the right word. Debriefing, with myself after what I said in the previous video, is that, but actually, guys, like, I really don't feel like I'm doing enough. I really don't. And I think it's important for me to actually do something about that. I really, really do. And I understand the part of me that would think in a self-destructive, or let's say toxic way, that I should only rest when I'm dead, or I should only rest when I feel like I've earned the rest. I understand that is not a good way of thinking, but at the same time, I also need to ask myself, but on days where I feel like I need to rest, what am I resting from, and why do I feel like I need to rest, and do I really need to rest? Am I feeling defeated? Am I, I hope you understand the heart of what I'm trying to say, that there are moments where it's like, actually, you need to be honest with yourself, that sometimes we're like, oh, I need rest, right? But you know that for that week you hadn't really done anything. And it's not that you need to earn rest, right? It's not that you need to work, and then you can say, okay, now I qualify for rest. It's not that. It's that really what's at the crux of you feeling tired. And do you feel tired, or do you just feel demotivated? Maybe in that moment it's a lack of discipline. Maybe in that moment it's tired. It's emotional tiredness. And for me, sometimes what I need is not really to take a 12-hour, to sleep for 12 hours. Sometimes in those moments, what I need is to actually get done what I want to get down, because I feel like sometimes these things are weighing on my heart, that I get exhausted by the fact that I'm not grabbing that thing that I want to grab. I spoke about a strategy plan that I've been working on for months, almost a whole year, right? I started it shortly after I finished writing my book. I always say I finished writing my book, but really I keep going back to make changes. But let's say at the beginning of the year, I started from scratch and I finished maybe around June, right? And that means writing, not editing, just writing, right? That part was done, the writing part. Then the editing started happening, where I would go back, read, fix, change, right? So I remember shortly after I had finished that in June and sent it to the potential publisher that I was communicating with at the time, I remember that moment. I was like, okay, cool, now what? And what I felt in my spirit is to prepare. Now strategize. Now what is going to happen when this book comes out? What is going to happen in order to market this book? All those kinds of things. And you can imagine June, okay, it was the 31st of June. So July, August, September, October, 4 months, right? Now that I think about it, 4 months isn't that long. But knowing what my day-to-day looks like, I know I could have done better, and I know I could have pushed myself more, right? But at the same time, I know some of the things that were going on internally that were keeping me demotivated from actually pursuing that. The internal battles of self-doubt and the internal battles of, am I am I capable of doing this, right? Am I capable of putting together a strategy for a personal brand when I've never had a personal brand? I've only had business brands, and I've put together strategies for business brands. When I say business brands, I meant to actually say fashion brands, right? That second nature to me, and now I'm doing something new, and it's only natural for my body to resist that, or for my mind to resist that, because there has been a default setting that has been sort of making me feel shy about doing like new things, right? That says, oof, this is really hard. Can you do it, right? And now I'm in a process of rewiring myself while actually acting it out, because it's one thing to rewire your mind and talk to yourself the whole time. It's another thing to actually put that stuff to practice. And that's one of the things that my therapist says, you know. I used to speak to her about self-love, and I used to speak about me wanting to grow in loving myself. And, you know, it's like, she encouraged me to make that practical, and part of making that practical is giving myself the things that I really need. You know, it's part of loving myself isn't just getting my hair and my nails done, isn't just saying affirmations in the mirror, but it's actually saying, okay, now you are worth me waking up at 5 a.m. or look, whatever the case may be, because even that, like, it made me feel so ashamed that I was unable to do that. But at the same time, what I'm learning is that taking it easy on yourself and pushing yourself to become who you know yourself to be, there's a very thin line. There's a very thin line, and I have been struggling for the longest time to find it. And there's been something in me that's been saying, this progress is too slow. This progress is too slow. And at the same time, I'm remembering all the moments and all the times that I was encouraged to just rest, to take it easy on myself, blah, 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 all those kinds of things. But like I said, only you know what's inside of you. Only you know the season that you're in. Only you know what you truly, truly need. Only you know yourself fully, that when that alarm rings, even at 9 o'clock, how you feel. That you feel demotivated to start the day. And it's worth working on that. And if anybody feels like, come on, like it's fine, we all wake up at 9 a.m. No, some things are not fine. Maybe for somebody else they're fine, but for me, they're not fine. For me, I know what normal looks like to me, you know, and I'm having to find the balance between what normal looks like to me and what I deem to be the perfect lifestyle. And maybe I'm not so far off with my perfect lifestyle picture. And maybe what I do need is to be gentle with myself by not condemning myself when I do fail, but saying, okay, now we failed today, that's okay, but we're going to keep trying. And not saying, oh, we failed, okay, well, I guess, you know, it's okay. You don't have to do this. You don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. I mean, why does society say we wake up at 5 a.m.? If that's what you want, then that's what you want. I know myself. I know that when I wake up earlier, I have the kind of day that I want to have. That when I wake up later, oftentimes it makes me feel disorientated, and maybe that's not the case for somebody else. But I say all of this to say that really after the last video I recorded, I'm just like, no man, some things are changeable. I have felt stuck in a life that is not mine. I've done all this work to find myself and to find my true identity in Christ, and to find out, because your identity in Christ is the foundation, but there are those things that, you know, God placed you in that family. God made you this way, and God, you like this kind of music, or you like, and I've had to also go through the process of accepting, okay, cool, certain TV shows, I've always liked them. Certain, like, you know what I mean? Like all these all these external things that I'm like, is that a part of me? Is that not a part of me? Some of it is like, oh, but I feel like it's a part of me, and God is like, it's not really a part of you. So, you know, all that push and pull, and there's no blueprint for that. Everybody goes through it in their own way, right? So I just really hope that in whatever we do, we stay true to ourselves. And for me, staying true to myself means I know what's inside of me, and what I want the most is for what's inside of me to reflect in my external life. And I'm not just talking about my bank account, I'm not just talking about my career, but I'm talking about what my life looks like, what I do on a day-to-day basis. For instance, I am a very generous person, despite what anybody may say. I am a very generous person, and I need the ability to be generous. I need the ability to be generous. That would be a true reflection of what I am. And if I am a generous person who only has 300 rand in her account, but knows that she needs to buy bread at some point in the month and needs to go to church, and it's, she needs this amount of money for petrol. Like, that doesn't give me the freedom and the flexibility to exercise a part of who I am, which is that generosity, right? So I definitely feel like there needs to be a coming together of what's inside and what's outside. So yeah, yes, rest is important, but we also need to be self-aware, be honest with ourselves, sit with God and just be like, Lord, this is how I feel. I feel like I'm going a little slower, and he'll answer you. Maybe he won't answer you in the moment, but because this is something I was having a conversation with God about last night. I was like, Lord, this is how I feel. I'm frustrated about this, and I mean, only almost 12 hours, not even. Anyway, the maths is not matching. But last night and this night, right now, like early evening, that's when I was like, snap. My frustration isn't for nothing. My frustration might not necessarily be caused by feeling unworthy because I don't have a busy schedule. No, I know better now. I don't feel that way anymore. I don't feel like my identity is chained to having a certain schedule. I don't feel that way anymore. But what I do know for sure is that there is something that God put inside of me, and I know for sure that now is the time for it to come out. And whatever God puts inside of me, oh my goodness, I'm remembering what Sarah Jakes Roberts once said. She said that sometimes you get a word from God. I'm paraphrasing. Sometimes you get a word from God, but the moment you receive that word from God, it goes to war with the system that is already operating, whether that's external or internal, right? One of my favorite scriptures, one of my favorite words from Jesus is in Luke 8. Let's see, Luke 8. Where in Luke 8 is it? So basically, it's the parable of the seeds, right? The parable of the sower, actually. I love that, actually. It's not the parable of the seeds. It's about the parable of the sower. And it talks about the heart condition of the person who is receiving a word from God, right? So there's 3 different types. I encourage you to read it. It's from verse 1 to verse 15, right? So I'm gonna summarize and just get to the point. For anybody who does know it, if you don't know it, I suggest you pause, you read it, and then you come back. But basically, what I love about it is that it's talking about how, when you receive a word from God, right? There are some who will have that word snatched, and there are some who, shallow soil, and that shallow soil, I can't remember what it represents, but all of those different types of soil, right? And I remember the first time this scripture really hit home was in 2020 when Michael Todd was talking about finances, and he used this parable in his teaching, and I was like, shucks, I took inventory of my own heart, and I assumed that mine was the good soil. I assumed that way for the longest time until that moment. I was like, shucks, actually, it's at the time I genuinely felt like my heart was the soil that had thorns in it, right? That was concerned about, had all these worries about life, the lure of wealth, anxieties, all those kinds of things. And I absolutely love the part where Jesus actually explains what that parable meant, because it's so important for us to recognize that when God calls you to something, it's not as simple as, oh, he called me, I'm a walk in it. Like Sarah Jakes Roberts was saying, that there is a system that's working there already. There is a state of your heart that's working there already. So if you do receive the word, are you the shallow soil? Are you the soil with thorns? And that it takes work to cultivate the correct type of soil before that word actually takes root and starts to produce fruit. And yeah, that's what I was coming to terms with. That's what I've been learning and trying to understand, that actually, like, God gave me this word, but even though he gave me this word, there are certain systems that need to be changed. The soil of my heart needs to be changed, and it requires participation from my body. It requires participation in my routine, in being diligent and disciplined every single day, and showing up the way I truly know how to show up, and bringing together all the manure and the water and the what else do they put to and the nutrients, whatever they need to cultivate that soil. God has done that work in me. I remember praying that. I was washing the dishes while I will never forget that moment. I was washing the dishes while I was listening to that sermon, and in my heart I was like, Lord, please let my heart be the good soil. And now it's become, just recently, it started becoming a part of my daily, or let's say rather weekly prayer, that, God, cultivate the soil of my heart. And perhaps maybe the answer to that prayer is actually being like, okay, cool. This is what's frustrating me at the moment. Let's take inventory and actually understand what is stemming and driving, what is driving that frustration, and understanding that if changes need to be made, that I should take responsibility and do whatever needs to be done in order to create that change within myself. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm at. Like, I'm really like finding this drive within me that's like, actually, no, man. Honestly, guys, this isn't really what I had in mind. This isn't really what I had in mind when I understood what I understood about myself, and that the moment I started understanding what I understood about myself, I need to start cultivating an environment where that self actually springs up out of the ground, right? So if it means that I need to pray more, be in my Bible more, if it means that I need to sleep early so that I don't struggle to wake up at 5 a.m., if whatever the case may be, like, the key is in my hand at this point. And that's what I was realizing, really, that sure, we can talk about rest, sure, we can talk about being gentle with yourself and being easy with yourself, and sure, we are human at the end of the day, but our humanity can be a reason. Just remembering the way that this person said it, but we call him Coach Sicelo, right? And he has a book. I wish I could actually, yeah, I'm gonna plug you guys with that book. I'm gonna put it in the description. But Coach Sicelo once said to me, or said to the people he was talking to, that there's a point where your reason is a reason, it's a legitimate reason, but after some time it stops being a reason and starts becoming an excuse. So we can say that we're human, yes, and that is a legitimate reason, but how long will being a human being be the reason for you not having the discipline, or not cultivating self-awareness, and not taking responsibility? Because at some point it does become an excuse. I can't say for 6 months, oh, the reason why I'm not going to gym is because I'm human. Yes, we have our flesh has a resistance sometimes to resist doing difficult things, but at the same time we are extremely resilient beings. So you get to pick and choose which part of your human you want to tap into. Do you want to tap into and submit to the I'm human, I find it difficult to do hard things, or to be like, I'm human, I'm adaptable, and I can actually do hard things, and I can actually get through hard things? That's something that I've needed to remind myself of this week, especially today, because I'm like, okay, all these things that I'm feeling like I need to be, I'm trying to take the time to actually remember that God has actually worked in me to cultivate these things, right? And I use myself as a case study, but most of the time when I'm talking about myself, I'm hoping that you can resonate with what I'm saying, and that you can go back and sit with yourself and say, okay, these are my struggles. Maybe for you, your struggle is not waking up, but I think for a lot of us, our struggle is waking up. Our struggle is doing the thing that we want to do. Our struggle can sometimes be feeling like this thing that's in front of you is bigger than you, right? Or our struggle can be that we're not passionate about what we're doing anymore. All those things that I've been experiencing, perhaps that could also be your struggle. And what I'm saying is that go back and be like, okay, this is where I'm feeling resistance or stumbling block. Where is it coming from? What is it about? And how do I respond to it, right? And it does not have to mean beating yourself up, but at the same time, it does not have to mean staying there. That's why I say there's such a thin line, because sometimes we're overly critical and we say, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing enough, I need to do more, da, 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 da. And then we end up killing ourselves with anxiety, or killing ourselves with just, anxiety, really. I know 2 people this year who have passed away, and honestly, when I think about their lives, when I think about some of the conversations I had with them, some of the things that were happening, it was like they were extremely anxious people. And I always say to God, I don't want to be that. And I always, in my frustration, I always say to God, okay, cool, I sound like those people right now. They always used to talk about how there's not enough time. They used to talk about, I don't want to make the wrong decision. And those were things that I would feel quite often, and still sometimes feel quite often. But I'm like, okay, God, how do I move forward without without being so anxious that it weighs on my heart and it weighs on my body? How do I take the information, and how do I be gentle with myself, but also take ownership and take responsibility for that? The way that, maybe not the way that I used to, but I used to do that a lot, where I'm like, okay, cool, the ball is in my court. The ball is in my court, really. And as much as I want to be gentle with myself, I still also want to be responsible with my life and be responsible with what I know God has placed in my life. And I said this in one of the previous videos, that tapping into grace is important. So those conversations with God are important, so that, because if you do it on your own, I guess you can find yourself at a point where your health is suffering because you're so anxious because of all these things. But bringing those things to God and saying, okay, God, am I moving at the pace of grace? Because sometimes the pace of grace slows you down. Sometimes the pace of grace pushes you to go faster, right? And when you feel a disconnect within yourself, it's important to take inventory, and to take that inventory with God, and get the right perspective so that you can move on, you can move forward correctly. And what I feel more than anything at the moment is that, yes, I'm right, there is I probably haven't been moving as quickly as I should. And yes, also, yes, we can take into consideration having a vulnerability hangover. But you know what? I went to bed last night and I woke up this afternoon, and now I feel revived again. Now I feel energized again. Yes, I would have liked to wake up and read my Bible and do this and do that, but I just laid on my couch, and I did not think that after laying on my couch, I would actually feel the urge to be like, okay, cool, I'm actually going to record another video. I'm actually going to introspect. I'm actually going to get to what I wanted to do, you know. I started moving my stuff because like my stuff was in my brother's bedroom. I started moving my stuff back to my bedroom, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to work in my bedroom and be surrounded by the things that are on my wall and pray and just do what I have to do, and finally check the things that I've been wanting to check off of my list, you know. They often talk about how don't make your don't attach your worth to your to-do list, and that is very important. Your worth has nothing to do with your to-do list, but I have a to-do list, and I want to honor the season that I'm in. I have almost pretty much all the time in the world right now. I don't know how long that's going to last. I don't know if God is going to give me a job tomorrow. I don't know if God is going to give me a career break that requires more of my time. You know, he might bring in a client that is going to require me to be working like full time. You know, my body hasn't done that in 3 years, you know, where I'm waking up every single day with a specific destination to go to, you know. And it's possible that that might happen anytime now, and I want to be ready. I want to make sure that I've done what I know he placed in my heart to do at the time that he placed in my heart to do. Because even at the beginning of the year, I was like, okay, while I'm writing my book, let me go work for my uncle, you know. Let me go work in the family business so that I have something to do at least 3 to 4 days a week. And I could feel God saying no. And you know, right now it feels like I'm being pushed to go in that direction again. And if I know that if that were to happen tomorrow, I wouldn't be ready because I haven't finished the things that I had done before. I don't know what my attention span is going to look like. I don't know if I'll be able to do both at the same time. So why not make the most of the season that I'm in? And I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling that way. I don't think it means that my identity or that my worth is in a to-do list. I just want to get something done because I want to honor the season that I'm in. I feel such a warmth in my heart right now when I say that, because be you, guys. Be yourself, guys. Be yourself. Be yourself, and bring yourself to God. Bring yourself to God, because sometimes when you bring yourself to other spaces and other places, you can get convinced of things that are really not true. And if you be you to God and you say, God, I don't feel like I'm going fast enough, and God tells you you are going fast enough, or you need to slow down, or you need to relax, or whatever the case may be, then you listen to that. But sometimes God is like, okay, my child, pick up the pace, you know. Or like, it just me saying what I just said now just really made me feel like, yes, this is how I feel, and I'm not crazy for feeling this way. Like, I do need to like dedicate the hour 15 minutes that I would have used to watch a sermon to actually complete a task that I have, you know. Like, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. I'm not doing it because I feel like I'm unworthy if I don't do it. I'm doing it because I feel like I need to do it, you know. So let's clarify things for ourselves. Let's clarify all of these things that we hear so much. Be gentle with yourself. Be easy on yourself. It's true. But every single thing that we hear, every single thing that we feel needs to be, Pastor Ray Roberts likes to say, it needs to be qualified. So qualify these things. He talks about qualifying your dreams and your visions, qualifying your desires, you know. And really all that is just taking it to God. And And might I add, taking it to God with as transparently as possible. And I wanted to say without an agenda, but sometimes we do have an agenda. But what I try to do these days is I'm like, okay, God, should I be a millionaire? Okay, I want to be a millionaire because A, B, and C. And that even if you say no, don't be a millionaire, nah, this is how I feel, right? So being honest about my agenda, that this is why, you know, this is my why. And if you want to give me another why, then give me another why, you know? So, yeah, guys, I guess the point is take things to God. That's the point. Take things to God and be you. And when you are you in front of God, nobody can tell you anything. You know, nobody can sway you out of that. So, yeah, I'm gonna finish my coffee and I'm gonna go do what I know to do, because now I've spent 40 minutes planting into your life, and I guess it's planting into my life too, because I mean, this is a goal of mine to create content and to put it out there. But I want to spend more time now really planting into my life, doing the things that I know I need to do, that I know I've been procrastinating and postponing. So I hope this was helpful. I love you, and have a good evening, day, morning, whenever you listen to this. Goodbye.